go again?
Oh, no, not again.
You've seen it before, haven't you?
Dom, how long have we been doing?
Once more unto the breach. Dear friends.
Again and again and again until we're both dead.
Hello, welcome to You've Seen It Before, Movie Reviews Connections of Mind. Aquaman and the Last Kingdom is the sequel to 2018's Aquaman. It is also the last film in the DC Extended Universe, the continuity that Zack Snyder started all the way back in 2013 with Man of Steel. And this is once again directed by James Wan, and stars once again James Momoa as Aquaman, as well as Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Amber Heard, Patrick Wilson, and Randall Park. And this film focuses on Arthur Curry / Aquaman's life as the King of Atlantis, as well as being a new father to Arthur Jr. when a new threat that comes to his service, or rather an ancient threat, returns from Atlantis' far-flung past, with Black Manta coming back to seek revenge on Aquaman for killing his father. But this ancient threat also threatens not only Aquaman and the people of Atlantis, but the entire world as well. Now, this video review will contain spoilers of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I'm doing my spoiler-free thoughts first and foremost, but just so you know, there will be some spoilers later on in this review. So let's get into some spoiler-free thoughts on Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Is this a good Aquaman sequel? Is this a good DC film overall? Is this a worthy conclusion to the DC Extended Universe? I gotta say, the DCEU has been, unfortunately sliding in quality as the clock has been winding down on this continuity. Those of us who watch these movies know that the continuity is about to be rebooted. I believe Superman Legacy is supposed to come out sometime in 2025, I want to say. So the creative energies are clearly elsewhere at this point. Not to say that there isn't creativeness going on in this movie, but this was not anyone's primary focus, I feel like, and that definitely shows. And that's a shame, because I really enjoyed 2018's Aquaman. I thought it was just maybe a little bit too long in certain areas, but I love Jason Momoa's Aquaman. He's a great actor for this. He's got the comedy stuff down. Maybe sometimes in the serious roles, he's probably not the best when it comes to pulling off serious moments, but it didn't matter, because Aquaman, the first Aquaman movie, was a bombastic, colored and noise explosion all over the place, and it was a thrill ride, and I had a lot of fun with that. This film, I feel like this sort of commits the same kind of error that Shazam! Fury of the Gods commits, in that when you have a sequel, there's this thought like, oh, we have a sequel, it was a lighthearted first movie, it has to be serious for this next one. It's got to be just so serious. And then you fill in, it's not that you can't be more serious in the sequel, it's just that when you lose the element, you have to, you put in more serious moments, and then you have to necessarily jettison some of the comedic moments. But then when the lighthearted comedic moments were what people liked in the first place, with that first movie, then the second movie's going to suffer for that. And I feel like, Shazam! Fury of the Gods did this and it suffered for it, and I feel like Aquaman and Lost Kingdom did this as well, and it also suffers for it, because there's definitely some serious storylines in here. There's, Aquaman trying to figure out how to become a parent, and also how to be a good king to Atlantis. Also, navigating family dilemmas with him and his brother Orm, who is imprisoned after nearly starting war with the surface world in the last movie, and then also dealing with this new threat and all the stuff that comes associated with that, and Black Manta's back, and you got all this serious stuff going on, and there is some funny, there is some humor in here as well, but unfortunately it feels like the humor is a bit forced in most places where it is. There's a couple of scenes, one involving Aquaman in a control room, and you see Randall Park's character. They get to have a scene together with that. That's a fun little moment. I like that bit of character development. Also, Aquaman and Orem, they get some time together, and there's some fun to be had there as well. I won't go into too many details right now. However, there's a scene in the deserter kingdom, or what that was established in the last movie. That's probably the most fun scene in the movie, from my mind. But everything else, yeah, once you get into the more serious elements, and the obligatory CGI battles between two armies, it just feels generic, and that's really a shame, because I liked Aquaman. I like these characters. They didn't get it. Now, the supporting cast didn't necessarily get a ton to do in the first Aquaman, but I was starting to, there was a little bit of a spark going with just Moa and Amber Heard going on with that, and believe all the tabloids you want as to whether or not Amber Heard's role was reduced in because of all the drama happening outside, but Amber Heard's Mara, she is involved in one. She's in the first probably about 10-ish minutes of the first of this movie. She's involved in one battle, and then you don't see her again for a good hour or so after that, and then she's in the end. So that that's a bit of a shame, and they tried to replace that with the dynamic between Momoa and Patrick Wilson, and they do a good job. They have a decent scene together with this, especially as there's one scene where they're walking through a jungle on this island, and that's there's some fun character moments to be had on that as well. But like I said, the hook of the previous film was Momoa is he's a funny Aquaman. He pulls off the physicality and the seriousness from that perspective, but he's also a lighthearted guy that you can have a beer or 10 with. So that was his character, and it's not he's growing into the role of king in this movie, but I feel like we lost something in between there, and what we lost doesn't necessarily make the movie better. And I mean, I wish I could say more about why this movie feels less than what it goes. I mean, I'll say more when we get into spoilers in a second here, but I have to say, this movie, it feels more like a generic comic book movie rather than a continuation of what was great about the first Aquaman movie. And as far as an end to the DCEU continuity, whatever, going back all the way to Man of Steel, whatever, this is a bit, not going out now with a bang, but a whimper. I would say this is a little bit better than a whimper, but not by much. So, all in all, a rather, disappointing note to end this continuity on, but I think most people at the studio are banking all their hopes on the rebooted Superman continuity coming out in a couple of years, so who knows about that. But as far as Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom goes, I was going to give this movie a letter grade. I would say this is a B-. I hesitate to give it a C grade just because, there was enough in here that I enjoyed that put it just barely into B- territory for me. So your mileage may vary, but those are my spoiler-free thoughts on Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Now let's get into some spoiler thoughts of certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. And so this is where I have to say, that one of the things that I often say on this channel is that, there is nothing new under the sun. You're going to be repeating tropes. It's not, you can't avoid that. There's no such thing anymore as a purely original story thing. You're going to be reusing tropes, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you reuse tropes in a fun and different way, or in a unique way, a way unique to you, you have all the different Lego bricks down there, but you can use those Lego bricks to, you've seen those Lego bricks before, but if you can combine them in so many different ways, that's how you do it. Here, for me, at a certain point, I was just ticking off in my head, all right, this trope was from that movie, this trope was from that movie. That's when you say using the tropes isn't working. That's when, it's not engaging, it's becoming distracting. For me, that's what dragged this movie down for me. And so just a list of a few of the tropes that I saw that, you can see in other things. One thing is the Necros, the Kingdom of Necros or whatever, the Lost Kingdom. The king, the evil king used his black trident spell or whatever to release a cloud to turn all of his citizens into monsters or whatever. Very reminiscent of earlier this year, Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, the spell the Red Death or whatever, which was a red cloud that turned people into undead monsters or whatever. So there's that. I really like the design of the hammerhead shark submarine or whatever, that the ancient submarine that they were using, but it also reminds me very much of the submarine from Atlantis: The Lost Empire. So there's that. When they're on the island and going, they're being chased by the giant grasshoppers or whatever, and Aquaman knocks over the statue to make the bridge, and then when they go over the bridge, they, shove the statue of the bridge over, and then all the things are going crashing down. Maybe think of that same scene in the Oasis in The Mummy Returns with those little pygmies, mummies or whatever, They have to go over the bridge, and then the bridge blows up, and then they're all falling down into the cliff that way. There's a trope of... I have two here. There's a DC trope and a Marvel trope here. One is the fact that the Black Trident, it has this this presence of this evil king that's possessing Black Manta, and then also possesses Orem. This kind of makes me think of the Venom black suit, Spider-Man suit from Spider-Man 3, where you have one this black artifact that grants great power to whoever wields it, but then it starts to corrupt them and turns them insane. And then when then there's of course also the scene where it's like, no, don't do this. It's it's not worth it. It's going to destroy you. Both with Peter Parker trying to convince Eddie Brock not to keep the Venom suits, and in Aquaman when Aquaman is trying to prevent Orem from keeping the Black Trident on that front. And then speaking of that Black Trident, that final scene where Aquaman throws or Orem, I guess, throws the Black Trident at I forget the guy's name, the Evil King's head, and he catches it. But then Aquaman throws his trident, and it goes, it splits the arrow. Basically, it shatters the trident all the way down, and then through him. That reminded me a lot of a similar scene in The Suicide Squad when it was Deadshot. That character shoots Peacemaker's bullet, and it shatters the bullet by being a slightly smaller bullet and going through it. Very interesting that we have two DC movies relatively close to each other with a similar, projectile being shattering by another projectile moment in there. But like I said, there was a bunch of others in there, but those are just the ones that came to my mind. Like I said, these are bad tropes in and of themselves, but the fact that I wasn't necessarily being engaged by the story or anything like that, when I start counting these tropes, it's like, all right, that's that. That's when there's something wrong with, they're not using these tropes correctly. They're not, using these creatively. You're just putting them in there because you can. So those are my main points of comparison. There was one thing, I like the additions to the lore, the fact that there is a lost kingdom that was, spouting greenhouse gas emissions or whatever that haunted planet. Little on the nose as far as of commentary. They were probably one person shy of just turning to the camera and saying wagging your finger. But I like that. That was kind of an interesting parallel to be had there. What I don't think this movie did well as far as lore additions is You can tell that they kind of threw this in at the last minute because in the opening narrations, Arthur's lamenting about all the various things like, oh, being a king is not all it's cracked up to be. Oh, and then there's this Council of Atlantis that no one told me about, and they shoot down all my proposals that we got. You can kind of make the case that they were just in the background of the first movie, and Orm just kind of doing his thing, but no, because they said, "Oh, we elevated your brother Orem to the level of dungeon master because we thought he could do the job." I was like, no, he became the ocean master in the first movie because he got the loyalty of all the various kings of the various kingdoms. That was how he became ocean master, and it's like you can't. That was a weird retcon, and it's like that makes zero sense in the continuity that they made, and besides all that, the council doesn't really do anything. They have like one scene where they're like addressing the people, like, oh, can Arthur, can the king actually defend his people or whatever? But then that's it. That's their entire reason for being in the movie, and it made no sense. I had no idea why they included that in the movie. So again, this movie, I wanted to like it. I was looking forward to it, but given the way DC has been going the last couple of years, this was kind of inevitable that this is how it was going to end up. So, yeah, I wish I could say a lot more nice things on it, but yeah, this was kind of a disappointing movie for me. But what did you think of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree, disagree? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my next TV review, which, if the schedule drops correctly, they should be dropping new episodes every day until the end of the year. Marvel What If Season 2 is dropping new episodes now on Disney+. So I'll be doing my review of Season 2 for that. And also, we're getting close to that time of the year. I'll be doing my best and the worst movies and TV of 2023 on or around New Year's Eve. So be sure to look for that. And if you like this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. Again, I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Every view I genuinely appreciate. And if you're watching this and you made it all the way to this at the end of this video, hope you all have a very Merry Christmas. And if I don't see it before the end of the year, have a Happy New Year as well. Here's looking towards a hopefully brighter 2024. Thank you so much for watching. But just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, there is. You have seen it before.